Sarah in the Woods, part take 2. Last read through before publishing. All right, I forgive you. Grandpa Joe looked into Sarah's eyes. You really want to marry this old man? He's been kept very well? That earned her a bark of laughter throughout the room. Well, since all of this is settled, it is a little early, but let's sit down for lunch, and you two need to join us. Yes, sir, both men said in unison. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Dessert was fruit and cake. Amelia was given a second piece of cake by Grandpa Joe, and Luca was given grapes by Amelia. Jack realized he could not dislike the giant. No wonder Sarah had chosen him as a bridesmaid. He should not be surprised. She was surprised, She was decisive in all aspects of her life. She'd chosen him just as decisively. Larry put icing on his nose and pretended he did not understand what Amelia was telling him, wiping more on his face. Jack missed this kind of laughter. He did like these people. Then a darkness fell across his heart as he noticed two fingers standing in... Oh, fingers. Read what's in front of you, dear. Jack missed this kind of laughter. He did like these people. Then a darkness fell across his heart as he noticed two figures standing in the entryway. One of them had hints, H-I-N-T-S. That's what's missing, an N. Jack missed this kind of laughter. He did like these people. Then a darkness fell across his heart as he noticed two figures standing in the entryway. One of them had hints of Marla's features. But the pain in his heart had to do with injustice Sarah had experienced at Jacob's hands, not the loss of love he himself had experienced. He protectively put his arm around Sarah's shoulder and gave her a squeeze. The laughter and voices stopped around the table. Grandpa Joe spoke in the silence. I didn't know you were coming. You can go to the kitchen. I'm sure they have some food for you. Lisa pulled Jacob with her, sticking her chin in the air, and in a defiant in defiance. Her air in defiance. Had an extra N in there. Lisa pulled Jacob with her, sticking her chin in the air in defiance, sticking her chin in the air in defiance, looking down her nose at the men around the table, then focusing on Sarah. Jacob wanted to welcome you back. We heard you were here. Okay. Lisa pulled Jacob with her, sticking her chin in the air and in defiance, looking down her nose at the men around the table, then focused on Sarah, then focused Edie. Okay, reread. Lisa pulled Jacob with her, sticking her chin in the air in defiance, looking down her nose at the men around the table, then focused on Sarah. Jacob wanted to welcome you back. We had heard you were here. And who would you hear that from? Oh, just around. Does it matter? Grandpa Joe signaled the housekeeper to come to his side and whispered something in the woman's ear. The older woman nodded and disappeared from the room. Thank you. Is there anything else? Sarah said flatly. Hi, baby. That sound is the dogs, not a creature from another planet. Oh, I know, babies. Not a Wookiee. Thank you. Is there anything else? Sarah said flatly. Jacob pulled on Lisa. I'm going to put Lisa's arms here. Lisa, the S, comma, arm. But she continued, and then put the she there. Jacob pulled on Lisa's arm, but she continued. I wanted to invite you to dinner, and thank you, dinner, comma, and thank you for recognizing Jacob's love for me and giving up. You're welcome, but there's no need for dinner. Just get me the official copy of your marriage certificate. Jacob pulled on Lisa's arms, but she continued. I wanted to invite you to dinner, and thank you for recognizing Jacob's love for me and giving up. You're welcome, but there's no need for dinner. Just get me an official copy of your marriage certificate. Really? You look down on me? You won't eat with me? Yes. I need a certified copy of the marriage certificate. Mr. Smith will be in contact and retrieve that from you. Wait, did you say you look down on me? I'm very busy this week, and I do not have time for meals. After the new year, my schedule should lighten up. Lisa's brows knit together and she seemed confused. Jacob, why didn't you say something? I believe your wedding photos are scheduled for tomorrow. Enjoy the venue I booked you. Jacob, why didn't you say anything? Oh, why don't you say anything? Let me reread that. Lisa's brows knit together and she seemed confused. Jacob, why didn't you say anything? I believe your wedding photos are scheduled for tomorrow. Enjoy the venue I booked you. Jacob, why don't you say anything? Jacob, still silent. I don't think my cousin has anything to say to you. Jacob, still silent. I don't think my cousin has anything to say. Gentlemen, my ladies, are you ready to go? Grandpa Joe, did you want to come with us? I'm buying. I wouldn't mind a new suit. The housekeeper appeared before them, pinching the ear of a young girl who collapsed on the floor in front of Grandpa Joe. She looked up with tears in her eyes. Did they pay you money? All the girl could do was sob and nod her head. Oh, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't mind a new suit. I'm going to say this. But before anyone stood, period. But before anyone could stand, I'm going to say that. C-O-U could S-T-A-N-D, period. No, comma. Okay. But before anyone could stand, the housekeeper appeared before them, pinching the ear of a young girl who collapsed on the floor in front of Grandpa Joe. She looked up. There. And that's because that's part of that whole conversation. It's all just Grandpa Joe talking. I wouldn't mind a new suit. But before anyone could stand, the housekeeper appeared before them, pinching the ear of a young girl who collapsed on the floor in front of Grandpa Joe. She looked up with tears in her eyes. Did they pay you money? All the girl could do was sob and nod her head. I want to fire you, but I'm not that cruel. I will, however, send you to a different house to work in, and I want a full explanation of why you think that was a good idea. And I want the whole truth. The girl whimpered and large tears spilled down her cheeks. Amelia started to cry. Why are you crying, Amelia? I don't know. The little oh, I see. I don't know. The girl on the floor did something very bad, and she's getting a timeout, Grandpa Joe offered. Oh, you know what? Yeah, because he doesn't even know her name. The girl on the floor did something very bad, and she's getting a timeout, Grandpa Joe offered. You mean you're not sending her away? She's going to work in a different place, but she's still going to be working for me. You know this young lady? No, but my mommy did some bad... You know this young lady? No, but my mommy did some bad things, and she went to a different place. And I haven't seen her for a very long time. The old man patted the little girl's hand. Lisa snarled, That's right, Jacob. I heard about this. That is the child of Mr. McCarthy and his lover. There was a great clattering of dishes on the table. Jack and Leonard stood quickly, knocking over glasses. Jack. Luca. No. Jack and Leonard stood quickly, knocking over glasses. Jack's teeth were clenched, but he managed to speak clearly. Jacob, I believe you do not have a room at this house. I would suggest you take your fiancée back with you. Jacob said nothing, but nodded his head and started to pull at Lisa's arm. Okay, I'm going to reread this because I was so choppy, and I don't know if there's something wrong with it. No, but my mommy did some bad things, and she went to a different place, and I haven't seen her for a very long time. The old man patted the little girl's hand. Lisa snarled, That's right, Jacob. I heard about this. That is the child of Mr. McCarthy and his lover. There was a great clattering of dishes on the table. Jack and Leonard. Leonard? There's no Leonard. That's what's wrong. Larry. I think it was Luca. I thought it was Luca. And I think it just... I don't know why I put... Don't ask me. Anyways, that's why we do the read-throughs. Jack and Luca stood quickly, knocking over glasses. Although I think it should be Larry, because Larry was involved. I think I'm going to put Larry in here. Jack, Larry, and Luca stood quickly, knocking over glasses. Jack's teeth were clenched. Okay. And Luca stood quickly, knocking over glasses. Jack's teeth were clenched, but he managed to speak clearly. Jacob, I believe you do not have a room at this house. I would suggest... House, comma. No, period. I would suggest you take your fiancée back with you. Jacob said nothing, but nodded his head and started to pull at Lisa's arm. I don't know what gives you the right to talk to me like that. I'm married into this family, and so I'm marrying, M-A-R-R-I-N-G, marrying into this family. So I have every right to be in this building. Sarah pulled on Jack's arm, trying to get him to sit down again. I don't know what gives you the right to talk to me like that. I'm marrying into this family, and so have every right to be in this building. Sarah pulled on Jack's arm, trying to get him to sit down again. Grandpa Joe spoke over Jack. Jacob, you may not remember your cousin, but he and his parents will be staying in the house, in the old Lynn house. Oh no, I'm just going to say in this house. That makes more sense. He and his parents will be staying in this house, and so will Sarah. I believe you have a rehearsal dinner in 2 days. I will see you then. Jacob understood the dismissal, but Lisa was not having it. Okay, I'm going to reread the paragraph. Grandpa Joe spoke over Jack. Jacob, you may not remember your cousin, but he and his parents will be staying in this house, He and his parents will be staying in this house, and so will Sarah. I believe you have a rehearsal dinner in 2 days. I will see you then. Jacob understood the dismissal, but Lisa was not having it. That's right, I'm marrying Jacob. He dumped her. Why is she in the old house? The housekeeper cleared her throat. A company of 3 appeared. Appeared behind her. Okay. Okay. That's right. I'm marrying Jacob. He dumped her. Why is she in the old house? The housekeeper cleared her throat. A company of 3 appeared behind her, 2 elderly gentlemen and a young woman, all with briefcases. One with a collar, all with briefcases, comma. I like behind her. Oh. Oh, I like this. All with briefcases. Period. Okay. The housekeeper cleared her throat. A company of 3 appeared behind her, 2 elderly gentlemen, a young woman, comma, a young woman, all with briefcases. Oh, no. 2 elderly gentlemen and a young woman, comma, all with briefcases. A 4th walked up with a collar and stood behind the housekeeper. Your appointment is here. Please show them to my office. The old man waved his hand, and the 2 men standing and the old man waved his hand. Oh, please show them to my office. The old man waved his hand to the 2 men still standing, encouraging them to sit back down. Sarah is my honored guest, as well as the other gentlemen at this table. Where did that go? Oh, it's just thinking? Why is it thinking so hard? I don't like it when it thinks. Don't be thinking. I gotta wait? I don't like waiting. I don't like it when it does this. Oh, the internet went away. Why is it? I don't want to hyperlink. What did I do? Now I know why I was confused. And for some reason my internet's down again. Please show them to my office. You know what? I feel like I need to go back and read that. That's right. I'm marrying Jacob. He dumped her. Why is she in the old house? Old Lynn house. The housekeeper cleared her throat. A company of 3 appeared behind her, 2 elderly gentlemen and a young woman, all with briefcases. A 4th walked up with a collar. And stood behind the housekeeper. Sir, your appointment is here. Please show them to my office. The old man waved his hand to the 2 men still standing, encouraging them to sit back down. Sarah is my honored guest, as well as the other gentlemen at this table. And this is my house, so I get to decide who stays inside of it. This is Jacob's house. He's inheriting it. He should have every right to be here. Jacob's face had gone from white to red. Jacob spoke, his voice cracking. Lisa, obviously Grandpa has business with these men. I don't want to interfere. We should not be interfering. What is more pressing than our wedding? It is this weekend. Jack finally settled next to Sarah. His voice was deep, laced with anger. Jack finally settled next to Sarah. His voice was deep, laced with the anger he felt. I will be sure to be at the rehearsal dinner. I don't expect to see you until dinner. Until then. Until then, Jacob. I will be sure to see you at the rehearsal dinner. I don't expect to see you until then, Jacob. Jacob bowed his head slightly and took a firm grip of Lisa's arm and pulled her from the room. Her high-pitched voice could still be heard even after the front door had been shut. Oh, and I don't know why that's capitalized, old man. The old man, it's descriptive, as opposed to the young man. That's not his name. The old man simply shook his head. Don't spoil Amelia the same way. I really don't understand that boy. The old man simply shook his head. Don't spoil Amelia the same way, Jack snapped. I really don't understand the boy. We have other business to attend to. Sarah prompted. Sarah, Prompted. Yes. Do you know where to put that young maid? And yes. Do you know where to put? Yes, of course. Okay. I know how to do this. We have other business to attend to. Okay. Could you help? We have other business to attend to. Larry, could you help the housekeeper for a moment? Sarah, S-T-A-I-R, stared at the girl on the floor. Oh, I don't have internet. Why do I have no internet? Okay, never mind. Sorry, don't have internet. so annoying. Well, I guess that'll interfere with me uploading the book unless I can figure out the internet thing. Okay, I'll finish the read-through, and then we'll deal with the next problem. I really don't understand that boy. Oh, I really don't understand the boy. Okay, I'm gonna say that because I keep saying that. I really don't understand that boy. We have other business to attend to. Larry, could you keep the housekeeper? Oh, we have other business to attend to. Larry, could you help the housekeeper? Sarah stared at the girl on the floor. Yes, of course. Do you know where to put that young maid? And you have her phone. The housekeeper nodded her head. In case there's someone else on staff, let's move to my study. Let's all move to my study. It will be crowded, but it will be private. Amelia, my love. Yes, Grandpa Joe. The old man's face could not help but crack into a large smile. I want you to go with the housekeeper. Oh, no. Cannot be the housekeeper. I want you to go with... No, that's easy. I don't know who. I'm trying to think. I want you to go with little Gina over there and take a nap while we're doing our business. Take a nap while we're doing our business. That way you can be wide awake when we go to the dress shop. I want you to go with little Gina over there and take a nap while we're doing our business. That way you can be wide awake when we go to the dress shop. But I'm not sleepy. Yes, Grandpa Joe. The old man's face could not help but crack into a large smile. I want you to go with little Gina over there and take a nap while we're doing our business. That way you can be wide awake when we go to the dress shop. But I'm not sleepy. Then lay down, shut your eyes, and count on your toes. Oh no. Then lay down, shut your eyes, and count your toes 20 times. That's weird. He used to make me do that too. The girl's eyes got wide at Jack. Go on. I promised to buy you a necklace to go with your dress. The little girl took the housekeeper's hand. Oh, I'm going to say not the housekeeper because she's busy. Gina. And disappeared up the stairs. Should I get champagne? No celebrating yet. The snakes have yet to be driven out. Doodly doot. The tailor's eyes grew wide as the men filed in. Well, aren't we the motley crew? 2 more gentlemen are coming. They are parking. I understand this is a wedding party. Jack pulled Amelia to his other hip. That doesn't even make sense. To his hip. Against his hip. A-G-A-I-N-S-T. Against his hip. Jack pulled Amelia against his hip. You would be correct. Jack pulled Amelia against his hip. You would be correct. We need the suits by Friday night. The man's well-plucked eyebrows would have risen if not for the Botox, but his shock was clear. Well, I am amazing, but I'm not even... Pardon me. Pardon me. Jack pulled Amelia against his hip. You would be correct. We need the suits by Friday night. The man's well-plucked eyebrows would have risen if not for the Botox, but his shock was clear. Well, I am amazing, but I may not have enough fabric in the building for that one. Are we going for ruffles or pastels? Sarah put her hand on Luca's arm. I want proper, classic, classic black tuxedos. Something that any Bond villain would be proud to wear. Are we the villains? We will be this weekend. A smirk on Sarah's face made Jack's heart race. I thought you were my fairy godmother. I am, and that's why we're buying dresses next door. You don't have your wedding dress? You're getting married this week. Oh, you don't have your wedding dress? You're getting married this weekend? And which one of you, needs a comma, and which one of these men are you marrying? Okay, you don't have your wedding dress. You're getting married this weekend? And which one of these men are you marrying? I'm not telling. Sarah ruthlessly smiled at Jack. Ruthlessly smiled Edie. Jack wanted Edie. That's it. Sarah ruthlessly smiled. Jack wanted to grab her up and bite her down on her shoulder to leave his mark on his intended. Okay. Which one of these men are you marrying? I'm not telling. Sarah ruthlessly smiled, glancing around the room. Sarah ruthlessly smiled, glancing around the room. Jack wanted to grab her up. And bite down on her shoulder to leave his mark on his intended. Wanted to grab her up and bite down on her shoulder to leave his mark on his intended. Do you want the cummerbunds to match? This isn't prom. I expect waistcoats. Yes, ma'am. Now, yes, ma'am. Now, if you'll see Marguerite next door to purchase your dress, I hope you're not expecting miracles. Sarah took Amelia from Jack and followed the matron Marguerite through the small fabric door. Through a small. Sarah took Amelia from Jack and followed the matron Marguerite through a small fabric door. Jack, you first. No, I'm not, old man. You up on the box first. I want the giant on the box first. No, in front of the box. The well-groomed man pointed to a spot in front of a well-worn wood box. Come on, handsome, let's get this done. The giant's arms stretched out. The giant's arms were, W-E-R-E, stretched out, and he was turning in place. And he was turning in place when the little bell tinkled at the door. You do kilts? The man needs a skirt. He's a bridesmaid. If I'm in a skirt, so are you. I will wear a skirt for Sarah. And these gentlemen must be Adam and Billy. L-A-R-S-N-I-C-K-E-R-E-D. Period. Snickered. Both men were handsome and young, giving Jack a twinge of jealousy. I would still suggest getting the pants made. They're a bit more useful, but I will happily buy you the kilts if you wear them on the wedding day. Do you have all the accessories? The knee-highs, socks, and the little pouch? You are all really too much. Yes, I'm sure I can do it. I just look forward to them showing off their knees. Sarah's voice came from the door. She disappeared through. Sarah's voice came through the door. The door she had disappeared through. I'm just looking forward to them showing off their knees. All the men's AGA heads turned to you are turned. As all the men's turned as Sarah's voice came through the door she disappeared through. Period. Or comma. Amelia was twirling. Amelia twirling in front of her. There. See, I didn't get rid of the was. So let me reread that. I just look forward to them showing off their knees. All the men's heads turned as Sarah's voice came from the door she had disappeared through. Amelia twirling in front of her. The cream satin matched Amelia's dress, but was covered in pink bows, and Sarah was in a simple sheath. The cream satin matched. But Amelia's dress was covered in pink bows, and Sarah was in bows, comma. Period. Oh no, it could be period. Sarah's was a simple sheath, like the one she had worn to the first business meeting he'd taken her to. I like it, Sarah. Here, I'm going to do this. The cream satin matched. Amelia's dress was covered in pink bows. Sarah's simple sheath, like the one she'd worn to the first business meeting he'd taken her to. I like it, Sarah. I like it a lot. I don't think you need to look further. Neither do I. You are the bride, and you're only going to try one dress. Who are you people? Efficient. Sarah disappeared behind the curtain. Again, Amelia trailing behind. You had better treat her right, Jack. I'm notifying you now that I'm next on her dance card. You better treat her right, Jack. I'm notifying you now that I'm next on her dance card. Sarah disappeared behind the curtain, Amelia's trailing behind. You better treat her right, Jack. I'm notifying you now that I'm next on her dance card. Larry smirked. And Jack's reaction. Jack's reddening face. Jack's R-E-D reddening. Reddening? No, Jack's. Crimson. C-R. No. Reddening. R-E-D. Reddening. I don't think that's the right spelling. I don't think that's a word. I think I'm making up a word now. Let's just check. Oh, I don't have internet. I gotta check it on my phone. I always have phone on my internet. Well, we hope. Reddening. Ooh, I'm having a little internet problem here too. Maybe the whole system's down. Is this the end? Are we in the dark times? The after times as opposed to the before times? Oh, come on. Oh, here we go, finally. Red. Oh, apparently there is a word spelled that way that is an actual word. Its source is Scottish and Irish. It means getting it ready. Reddening. Getting it ready. Reddening. Now, let me put it with 1D and let's see what the world says it is. The world of the Google. Computer, tell me my fortune. The person. It's archaic, of course, because I'm all about archaic language. To explain. Oh my goodness, it's an archaic. That is funny. Darkening. I'm just going to say darkening face. That's a word. D-A-R-K-E-N-I-N-G face. Darkening. Darkening. Here I'm going to put this. Darkening. Darkening face. Darkening. Isn't that a word? Am I like totally lost my mind today and not have anything? E-N. Okay. I knew this is a real word. It's a current word used in current fashion of like darkening curtains to darken the room. It's a darkening effect. It should be reddening. I wonder if that's a word. I wonder if I can do that. R-E-D, reddening. I'm going to look it up though to make sure it's actually right because we're all learning something today. Okay, it is a real word. I was right. It is a legit word. R-E-D-D. Oh, it's 2 Ds. Reddening. It means, so Lynn reddened at the description of herself. Do you know how much better I feel? Because I thought, my goodness, I pick a lot of archaic words. Okay. But I thought, dude, I am like seriously lost my mind here. I knew it was a real word. And I've heard it used before. The reddening of her backside as it was smacked hard. Right? So like a past tense thing. Anyways, let's reread this. After Tina had her mental breakdown. Sarah disappeared behind the curtain again. Come on. Amelia trailing behind. You had better treat her right, Jack. I'm notifying you now that I'm next on her dance card. Larry smirked at Jack's reddening face. Don't worry about me. I'm just show up with those pretty knees of yours. Oh, she has a dance card? Sign me up after Luca. Oh. That's Larry. Luca. L-U. Luca smirked at Jack's reddening face. There. That makes more sense, because I didn't believe Larry would say that yet, but whatever. But he does, but Luca's going to say it, because he doesn't have any problem fighting her for him. Okay, Sarah disappeared behind the curtain again, Amelia trailing behind. You had better treat her right, Jack. I'm notifying you now that I'm next on her dance card. Luca smirked at Jack's reddening face. Don't worry about me. Just show up with those pretty knees of yours. Oh, she has a dance card. Sign me up after Luca. Larry, we're old friends. What are you talking about? You know she likes my family already. She hasn't met your family. She likes the idea of Sunday dinner. Doesn't matter. Put me on the card. You think you're worthy? I know I won't treat her badly. And I know how to protect her. You think you're worthy? I know I won't treat her badly, and I know how to protect her. The old man stomped his cane. All of you shut up now. I'll beat Jack if he disappoints her. Like you did Jacob. Jacob's getting his punishment. Sarah was wise. Crazy women are full... Oh. Like you did Jacob. Jacob's getting his punishment. Sarah was wise. Crazy women are only fun in small doses. Are you calling me crazy? Sarah and Amelia were posing in the doorway. In the doorway. Are you calling me crazy? Sarah and Amelia were posing in the doorway, both with one hand on their forehead, the other on their hip. Obviously, Sarah had practiced this with Amelia. They were both in gowns requiring a hoop to create the wide bell shape being squeezed through the door. No, I do not like that dress. But look what happens when you try to bend over. Sarah moved into the room and touched her toes, exposing what should have been covered in bloomers. But she only had small cotton briefs and a pair of heels. Very funny. Now stand up and find something else. Jack looked back at the group of men. Even the well-groomed man's mouth was open. And he was still... was open. Very funny. Now stand up and find something else. Jack looked back at the group of men. Even the well-groomed man's mouth was wide open. I'm going to put wide because I keep saying it. Wide. W-I-D-E. Very funny. Now stand up and find something else. Jack looked back at the group of men. Even the well-groomed man's mouth was wide open. I'm ripping up her dance card. So get that out of your head. Jack, you are a lucky son of a... There was a scream from the far side of the curtain, and the whole crew charged forward. Sarah was holding Amelia. Amelia was crying. Giant, ugly tears. Amelia was crying. Giant, ugly tears rolling down her face, and Lisa was on the floor, a large red mark blooming on her cheek. Jacob was standing in the middle of the pile of Jacob was standing in the middle of a pile of garters at his feet. Oh, standing in the middle. Period. No, comma. A pile, and then get rid of the of. I have this, trying to make this vision of, he's standing, got knocked back. Jacob standing in the middle, a pile of garters at his feet, his face ashen. Okay, here we go. Jack, you're a lucky son of a... There was a scream from the far side of the curtain, and the whole crew charged forward. Sarah was holding Amelia. Amelia was crying, giant ugly tears rolling down her face, and Lisa was on the floor, a large red mark blooming on her cheek. Jacob was standing in the middle, a pile of garters at his feet, his face ashen. Lisa started to say something, pointing her finger. But there was suddenly... No. But there was suddenly a group of men between her and the woman she was accusing. He's already thrown her away. Why is she in a wedding dress? Grandpa Joe stomped his cane. Stumped? D-O-M-S-T-O-M. S-T-O-M-P-E-D. Stomped. Stomped. Is that a word? Yeah. Here are you. He's already thrown her away. Why is she in the wedding dress? Oh, why is she in a wedding dress? Grandpa Joe stomped his cane. Jacob is not the only man in the family, but he is the only heir. Sarah's voice came from behind the broad back of Jack. But he's not the best man. No, that would be me. Larry put his thumb in his chest. No, I'm the best man. You're just a runner-up. Amelia waved his hands at him. Quite all of you. Don't you already have your dress? Why are you here? Jacob promised me my own dress. I'm not taking Sarah's hand-me-downs. You mean the custom-made dress that you had altered and attributed to their breakup? Which attributed to their breakup? Comma. W-H-I, which attributed to their... You mean the custom-made dress that you had altered, which attributed to their breakup? Lisa licked her lips and narrowed her eyes. She'd gotten an ugly look on her face and then started to cry. Jacob finally went into action and wrapped his arms around Lisa and tried to pull her up to her feet, but she was not ready to relinquish the floor and the drama she was performing. Grandpa Joe crossed his arms and stared down. S-T-A-I is stared? Is that the right stared? Honestly, I'm going to check. Oh, I gotta check on the phone. No internet. Life stinks. Okay, S-T-A-R-E-D. Yeah. All that banging around out there are the dogs running back and forth. They like 5-gallon buckets and eat them. And one holds the 5-gallon bucket and runs with it while the other one chases it. Okay, I did spell it correctly. Thank God. Grandpa Joe crossed his arms and stared down at the actress. Buy whatever dress you want. I'm not paying for it. Grandpa Joe, I'm sorry, we don't need a new dress. No, you don't. You need to keep her calm and show up at the altar at the appointed time. Say I do, sign the paperwork, and you will be free to go on your month-long honeymoon. Yes, Grandpa Joe, I understand. Jacob finally got Lisa to stand, but had trouble turning her from her audience. You promised me a new dress, Jacob. I will buy you as many dresses as you want next year, but you already have your wedding dress. It looks beautiful on you. But it's not my dress. Apparently, Sarah could no longer hold her tongue. So you understand that now? Lisa spun on her heels, but could not see the face of the woman she wanted to tear at. Well, he's mine. You lost him and the baby. The Dark clouds that instantly gathered in the room were channeled by Grandpa Joe. He raised his cane and struck Jacob across the back of the thigh. Jacob gripped Lisa's arm and forced her out of the building. You're only going to hit him once. Their honeymoon is on a small island for a month. On a small island for a month with no cell service. Sounds like heaven to me. That's absolutely cruel, but it makes me feel a lot better. Laughing Luca. Low laughed Luca. Oh, sad, Sarah. Said, S-A-I-D. And it could be lowercase said. It said Sarah, but then that needs to be a comma. So, okay. Sounds like heaven to me, said Sarah. That's absolutely cruel, but it makes me feel a lot better. Laughed Luca.
Hi, Tina. The time is 7 a.m. Currently in Tucson, it's 39 degrees and sunny. Today, it'll be sunny, with a forecasted high of 65 and a low of 39. Have a great day.
Thank you. And that is why Tina is wearing her nice warm coat, her heating blanket, because it's cold outside and it's cold. Well, I get cold easily. I think that's why a lot of my characters do. I understand being cold. Okay, I'll go back and read. Having been interrupted. The dark clouds that instantly gathered in the room were channeled by Grandpa Joe. He raised his cane and struck Jacob across the back of the thigh. Jacob gripped Lisa's arm and forced her out of the building. You're only going to hit him once. Their honeymoon is on a small island for a month with no cell service. Sounds like heaven to me, said Sarah. That's absolutely cruel, but it makes me feel a lot better, laughed Luca. I think you should have drones and cameras over the island. You could make it a reality show. I mean, I can't imagine they're both going to survive to the end of the month. Can I help you find your baby? Amelia's small voice triggered tears to flow from Sarah's eyes, and she was not alone in her sudden grief. Yes, you can. I've been very sad since I lost him. Thank you, my dear. She hugged, not hung, hugged, H-U-G-G-E-D. Hugged, hung, H-U, no N. She hugged the little girl to her chest even tighter. All right, that's enough of you. All right, that's enough, you. All right, that's enough, you. Back in the room and get your measurements. No, that's enough, you people. Back in the room and get your measurements. Marguerite, see to the ladies. Should be this. Marguerite, see to the ladies. I want the girl in the light blue, the one with the little rose in the front. I'll wait by the door until you're free, Jack. Larry pushed Jack's shoulder. Thank you, Larry. Jack reluctantly passed back through the curtain and stood on the box as directed. Technically, tonight's your wedding night. I mean, you did get married after lunch. Prompted Luke. True, and your point being, help her find your baby tonight. Jack's eyebrows went to his hairline and his ears turned red. If he doesn't, I will. Oh no, it's not Luca, it's that other guy. What's his name? What's his name? Oh wait, wrong one. I need here this one and Sarah. The notes. It was what's his name again? It's Gordon. Nope. Gordon. Gordon. Prompted Gordon. True, and your point being, help her find her baby tonight. Jack's eyebrows went to his hairline and his ears turned red. If he doesn't, I will. Just back off, all of you. I'm still supposed to wait a week. Says who? Asked Billy. The OBGYN we saw. Well, I'm not an expert, so go see another one. Aren't you a doctor? Yes, but I do broken bones. Not boobs. The men started laughing, lightening the tension that had been pressed around Jack. Well, if not the boob doctor can get up on the box for me, please. I can't believe I just said boob. Now I've said it again. You're all very bad influence on me. You are all a very bad influence on me. Then not Ez's influence. Okay. Well, if not the boob doctor can get up on the box for me, please. I can't believe I just said boob. Now I've said it again. You are all very bad influence. You are all a very... A is missing. You are all a very bad influence on me. There. See? Reread. Well, if not the boob doctor can get up on the box for me, please. I can't believe I just said boob. No, I've said it again. You're all a very bad influence on me. Are you guys really going to wear kilts for her? Absolutely. I've always wanted one. Well, it should be formal kilts. Assume none of you know your Tartars. Asked the smooth-faced man. Or the smooth-faced man asked there. Smooth-faced man asked. A-S-K-E-D. I know tartar sauce, and I do like it on my fried fish. Heathen. I've already decided. You don't need to worry about it. You will look divine. I will trust the master. Grandpa Joe, you want a kilt? You are walking, Sarah. No, I can't compete with you, young people. No, I can't compete with you, young people. And your knees. I would need suspenders to smooth mine out a bit. Oh, I would need suspenders to smooth them out a bit. So let me reread that. It's awkward. No, I can't compete with you young people. And your knees. I would need suspenders to smooth them out a bit. Hey, Jack. Adam nudged Luca. Yes? I've always wanted to ask. Yes? The three men broke into song. Do your nuts hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? The three men melted into laughter, unable to finish the song, as they were joined by the others in the room. You want to take a look? That simply roused another round of laughter. Well, I'm going to go relieve Larry, and don't ask Sarah that question. She doesn't need to know the difference. Jack was suppressing a smile, trying to look stern. Grandpa Joe had a twinkle in his eye and smacked Jack on the shoulder as he was leaving. Grandpa Joe had a twinkle in his eye and smacked Jack on the shoulder as he was leaving. Don't worry. Come on. You will be doing fine until I reach your knees. The room erupted in laughter again as Jack left. Larry looked unhappy, having heard the laughter but missing the reason for it. Laughter, come on. You can ask them what's so funny. I'm not sharing. Sarah is still in the changing room. Maybe you should go in and look. I'll come with you. Jack gave him a sour expression, narrowing his eyes. I don't think that's necessary. I could take Amelia with me so you can have some time to comfort her. Oh. I hadn't thought of that. And I have purchased some gifts for you. I mean, you are going to reimburse me. They are outrageously expensive here. But it is the thought that counts. I'm having them sent to the old house. No. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I'm having them sent to the old inn house, so you can have them tonight. His old friend raised an eyebrow at him. Did you ever get to review that material? I read over the titles. I don't think I don't think any of them were pertinent. Jack, my dear friend, the same video can have 10 different titles. Jack, I would recommend you watch them together, starting with the first one on the list. We have been doing just fine without your instructional material. Put your earbuds in and sit in the dressing room with Sarah. Have her try on at least a dozen dresses for you while watching that video on your phone. That's really not necessary. I want you to know I'm not letting Amelia interrupt your married life. I noticed you have been more frustrated since we found the girl. She's been sleeping in the bed with Sarah. I'll call my mom. Larry held up a hand. I know Grandpa Joe said he wants to keep her, but I think she would do better with other children around. Maybe there's a cousin who can come to the old house. House and help Grandpa Joe raise her. I like the old man a lot, but I don't like Jacob. Agreed. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Sarah, can we see another dress? Just a moment. Her voice sounded strong and clear. Her voice sounded strong and clear, free of the tears from earlier. The curtain was pulled quickly aside, and the two men found ladies were both in matching pink atrocities, with far too many bows and ribbons, and the color was jarring. And the shade of pink was jarring. I'm going to say that instead. The S-H-A, shade, S-H-A-D-E of P-I-N-K. There. Both in pink atrocities. Far too many bows and ribbons, and the shade of pink was jarring. I think I like the first one the best. I will say, I think this looks better on Amelia. But I want you to go and show that to the men in the other room. But, I want you to go show, I want you to go, I want you to, I want you to go show that to the men in the other room and get their opinion. Maybe I don't understand fashion. Jack tried to maintain the frown he had. But, no comma. But I want you to, yeah, that makes much more sense. But I want you to go to the men in the other room and get their opinion. Maybe I don't understand fashion. Jack tried to maintain the frown he had, but Larry was not trying to hide his opinion. Jack led the way, holding Amelia's hand. Gentlemen, all eyes turned to Jack at the curtain. Amelia spun around his finger. Very nice, Amelia. You should definitely buy her that dress, Jack. Sarah pushed Larry through the door and spun into the room. Should he buy this one for me? No. Why ever not? It doesn't go with your eyes. There was a snicker around the room. Sarah grabbed Amelia's hand and put her nose in the air and marched back through the curtain. Well, go on, follow them back in. Larry prompted him. Larry pushed him. Jack's shoulder. Okay. Sarah grabbed Amelia's hand and put her nose in the air and marched her back through the curtain. Well, go on, follow them back in. Larry pushed Jack's shoulder. Jack remembered himself and pursued the women. So why were you all laughing in there? So why were you all laughing in here? Three young men looked at each other and began Okay, let me reread this. So why were you all laughing in here? The three young men looked at each other, and then the old man, and their voices started to ring out in unison. That's enough, you. You can get them drunk and have them sing to you. Larry, I'm going to say that instead. Larry, you can get them drunk and have them sing you the song and not embarrass me. That's enough, you. Larry, you can get them drunk and have them sing you the song and not embarrass me. Oh, you know you love it, old man. Oh, you know you love it, old man. Oh, you know you love it. Love, that's it, not loved. Love it, old man. See? You have to read it out loud and see what you said. That's enough, you. Larry, you can get them drunk and have them sing you that. That's what I keep trying to say. Get them drunk and have them sing you that song and not embarrass me. Oh, you know you love it, old man. I admit, I understand why Sarah likes you. I haven't seen it yet. Luca put his arm around Larry's shoulder and pulled him over, and the four of them huddled their heads together. They very quietly sang him the song, the full version, intermixed with snickers and fits of laughter. I've changed my mind. I really like them. Jack pushed through the curtain again. May I present Madame Amelia and Madame Sarah? I think that needs to be capitalized because it's a proper title. Though the gowns nominally matched, the black and white satin that looked innocent on Amelia made Sarah a vixen, which of course was the point. Those dresses you buy. I only have the handsome man in the plum. I only have the handsome man in the plum-colored coat left to measure. I only have the handsome man in the plum-colored coat left to measure, so you have enough time for another dress. Didn't you already measure me? No, I'm sure you did. Look how happy they are. Let her be happy. Amelia stood back up on the box. Is this really necessary? I'm measuring you for a kilt. I'm on the groom's side. Says you. The men laughed again. Sarah truly was a blessing. She brought laughter back into his life, among her other assets. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Larry suggested I watch this in the dressing room while you worked. Jack held up his hand. I did not, besides the fact there was a child present. But he's rather insistent that we watch it together tonight. He also said he sent gifts. Do you really think we need it? Amelia's already been sequestered with the two of the housemaids to play dress-up and hair tonight. Do you really think we need it? Amelia's already been sequestered Amelia's already been sequestered with two of the housemaids to play dress-up and hair tonight. Sequestered. I feel like there needs to be a comma there, like a breath. Already been sequestered with two of the housemaids, comma, to play dress-up and hair tonight. Yes, Larry and Uncle Joe have them. Yes, Larry and Uncle Joe gave them strict instructions to keep her occupied and not let her disturb us this evening. I am sorry, Jack. Period. I know she's been quite a distraction for us. It's just that she broke my heart. She was so skinny and she would not talk for 2 days. She was so skinny and she would not talk for 2 days. I know. I have no criticism. In fact, it made me appreciate you even more. You are certainly not your mother. If I get a boo-boo, comma, if I get a boo-boo, I'm coming to you. Well, I hope you understand the feeling is mutual. Do you need any wine? I don't know how this is done. What are you in the mood for right now? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Are you tired? Do you need to go for a run? No, don't need to run right now. My heart is racing. I believe this would be called nerves. Jack. We are not. Jack. We are not supposed to do that. Jack, we are not supposed to do that, actually. That until my aunt has finished her visit. Okay, we call nerves. Jack, we're not supposed to do that, actually. That until my aunt has finished her visit. Jack looked very confused. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had family already coming. Oh, you had family already come in. Come in. I thought your mother would be here tomorrow. Jack, my dear sweet boy, my Aunt Flo. You never mentioned her before. I'm sorry, is she staying at a hotel? I'm sorry, comma. Is she, and that's needed to be fixed. You never mentioned her before. I'm sorry, is she staying at a hotel? Jack, you really are dense, or above it all. As they were still in the front room, and there were too many heirs around the large table playing cards. Come on. She leaned in and whispered in his ear. I'm in the middle of my menstrual cycle, and when I'm finished with my visit from Aunt Flo, we can commence marital congress. Jack's eyes widened as she whispered in his ear. The topic was not particularly erotic, but the puffs of hot air in his ear made it hard for him in two ways. He shuddered a bit. Do we still watch the video tonight? You know, study before the big exam. I don't see why that would be a problem. And my mouth certainly is not off limits. I assume neither is yours. Jack had to shake his head. No, I'll ask you again. Do you need anything? Oh, here, wait. It's just two different people talking. Jack had to shake his head. No, I'll ask you again. Do you need anything? Jack shook his head and then scooped her up in his arms and tore up the stairs. Shook his head, to shake his head. No, I'll ask you again. Do you need anything? Jack. Oh, here. No, it's not two people talking. It's her talking. Jack shook his head. Not had to. Shook his head. I don't see that would be... Okay. I don't see why that would be a problem, and my mouth is certainly not off limits. I assume neither is yours. Jack shook his head. No, I'll ask you again. Okay, I'm going to say this. Good. Period. No, good. I'll ask you again. Do you need anything? Jack shook his head and then scooped her up in his arms and tore up the stairs. Okay, that's good because she was the one asking if he needed things. Okay. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. I feel like I need to reread that whole thing. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had family already come in. I thought your mother would be here tomorrow. Jack, my dear, sweet boy, my Aunt Flo. You never mentioned her before. I'm sorry, is she staying at a hotel? Jack, you really are dense, or above it all. Jack, are you really... Jack, are you really dense or above it all? Or just above it all? There. Jack, are you really dense or just above it all? That feels so much better. It's like a weight came on my chest. Jack, are you really dense or just above it all? As they were still in the front room and there were too many ears around the large large table. Too many ears around the large table, playing cards. She leaned in and whispered in his ear. I'm in the middle of my menstrual cycle, and when I'm finished with my cycle, and when I'm finished with my visit from Aunt Flo, we can commence marital congress. Jack's eyes widened as she whispered in his ear. The topic was not particularly erotic, but the puffs of hot air in his ear made it hard for him in 2 ways. He shuddered a bit. Do we still watch the video tonight? You know, study before the big exam. I don't see why that would be a problem, and my mouth certainly is not off limits. I assume neither is yours. I assume neither is yours? Question mark. That's what bothered me. I assume neither is yours? Jack shook his head. No. Good. I'll ask you again. I'm going to say not rather than no, just good. Good. I'll ask you again. Do you need anything? Jack shook his head and then scooped her up in his arms, into his arms and tore up the stairs. Toodly-doo, toodly-doo. No, I do not need help in the shower. Maybe someday we will be that intimate. But I don't want that to be your first introduction to me. I don't understand. And you're not going to tonight. Just stay out there and let me finish in here quickly. Jack took time to look up. Jack took the time to look. That's much better. Jack took the time to look up on his phone the term Aunt Flo and hit on a page of synonyms and euphemisms for the menstrual cycle. He realized how dense he was. How dense he truly was. T-R-U-L, truly. How dense he truly was, and how often he had misunderstood conversations in the past. Sarah emerged in a large pink towel when she was quite... Oh. One, comma, O-N-E. Okay, Sarah emerged in a large pink towel, one he was quite certain did not belong to the house. Now you stay here. Sarah emerged in a large pink towel, one he was quite certain did not belong to the house. Now you stay there. She held the small bottle of oil and made her way to the closet. Towel. Did I misspell towel? No, and I'm going to leave it there. Why do you think it needs that punctuation? Okay, I'm going to leave it alone. I'll believe the computer. One he was quite certain did not belong to the house. Now you stay there. She held that small bottle of oil. And made her way to the closet. She was taking too long. He needed a shower himself, so decided to peek in at her, like in a dress shop. She only had small cotton panties on, and that was it. Her back was to him when he approached. Oh no, as he peeked. Her back was to him as he peeked. That's better. As he P-E-E-K-E-D. Peeked. back was to him as he peeked. She had just bent down and was rubbing the oil on her feet. Here. She just bent down and was rubbing the oil on her left foot. And up her calf. He froze and made no sound. She continued up her thigh and then did the next leg, but when she swept her fingers under the edges of her panties, over her buttocks, he let out a groan. She spun in place at the sound and then spun back again, covering herself with her hands. That does not look like spun. Yeah. Covering herself with her hands. Sorry, Jack, I'm not used to the other people watching me. Good. Can I... Oh, here. That's all him talking. I'm not used to other people watching me. Good. Can I massage you with the oil tonight? She looked over her shoulder at him, biting her lower lip. He no longer wanted to shower. Yes, I suppose that would be really lovely. She pulled a t-shirt from the drawer and pulled it over herself, and then a pair of sweatpants. She pulled the t-shirt back off and handed him the bottle of oil. Can you put it on my back? She did not look at him, but he took the bottle from her hand. His hands were hot and a bit rough. I'm going to do this. His hands were hot and a bit rough, but they were strong and it felt good on her skin. Still covering her breasts with one arm, she held out the other to him. He started at her fingers, and by the time he'd reached her shoulder, he could see her nostrils flaring and her breath coming quickly. She turned to face him and switched arms, still shielding herself. She still had the tape on her fingers, so he was careful, focusing on her thumb and the webbing between her thumb and forefinger. Her cheeks grew red, and Jack's breathing matched hers. He rested his hot, oily hands on her shoulders, and they looked into each other's eyes. And they looked into each other's eyes for a few moments before she slowly lowered her arm, her movements unsteady. You are as beautiful as I had imagined, more so. He ran his fingers down, enjoying the weight of her flesh in his hands. The rosy peaks stood out. He did not resist his urge to cover one with his mouth. The texture was amazing, and she tasted better than he could have imagined. He had an errant thought. He wanted to taste her after a long hike, after she was all sweaty and hot from the day. She tangled her fingers in his hair and pressed him hard against her. She tangled her fingers in his hair and pressed him harder against her, making the same sort of sounds she did when he massaged her legs. The little sounds had the same effect on him, and he pressed himself against her, pressing her against the clothes hanging in the closet. She quickly lost. Quickly? L-Y. Quickie. Not quickie. That's what they're doing, but it's not. Quickly. She quickly lost her footing, and they both fell backwards, She quickly lost her footing, and they both fell backwards, taking half the wardrobe with them. Shall we change the venue? I'm going to go take a shower. I don't mind. I'm going to take a cold shower. Sarah's cheeks turned red instantly, and it then ran up into running up. Running. Sarah's cheeks turned red instantly, running up into her hairline. Sarah squirmed out from under the clothes and dove under the blankets. He left the bathroom door open, so she called out to him. He could tell she was trying to normalize the situation. I don't think I should go to the rehearsal dinner. You have to go. You will see things that I won't. I think I'd like to. I'm going to call Emilio right now. Yes, good evening. It's my wedding. Yes, good evening. I know it's my wedding night. No, I don't need advice. I need your services. Period. No, you really do have a filthy... No, you really do have a filthy mind. I want that team that married Jack and I today. I want that team that married Jack and I today. Come on. At the wedding rehearsal. Oh, at the rehearsal dinner. I want that team that married Jack and I today. At the rehearsal dinner. I want to make sure the two of them are legally married in case something goes wrong on the wedding day. Well, if they don't like marriage, they can get a divorce. I don't see how she would object. All right, yes. Say it's the old man's insistence. No, he's in the shower. No, I have not told him my plan. I don't think he will object either. I don't think. No, I have not told him my plan. I don't think he'll object either. I want to ask you one other question. Are men in pain when they're in that state? You know, excited. So as long as they achieve release? He said he was taking a cold shower. Why are you laughing at me? Oh, I see. I really don't think we need Larry's instructions. He's taking a cold shower after all. Fine, yes, I will listen to Larry. Just make sure those people are there Thursday. We could catch them at the photo shoot tomorrow, which might be even better. Oh, we could catch them at the photo shoot tomorrow, comma, which might even be better. Yes, you're right. Just inform us when they're done. You're right. Just inform us when they're done with their photos. And we'll go in and get ours done. Good night. So, are you watching Larry's video? Her answer was to pull the blanket down. Jack needed no further instructions, but unlike the first time she had cradled him in her arms and thighs, he would not be interrupted tonight. Doodly-doot, doodly-doot. This is really a photo studio. Sarah looked behind them to see if they had the wrong address. No, this is the place. 2 cars over to the left is the one Emilio took out this morning. How do you know which car Emilio took? He handed her his phone. Live reservation system with tracking. You can also search by type of vehicle. That's how we track delivery costs, weight, and time management. Sarah wrapped her arms around Jack and planted a deep, wet kiss on his mouth. He would not reject her and open to her provocation. Even in his haze, he heard the grinding of the small engine that rolled up the window between the front and back of the car. Sarah pulled back. I forgot about the chauffeur. Jack flicked his eyes towards the window. Here. Jack flicked his eyes towards the window, and he smiled at her, pulling at her waist. Sarah still resisted. I'm messing up your makeup. Am I Oh, no, blah, 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 blah. I forgot about the chauffeur. Jack flicked his eyes towards the window, and he smiled at her, pulling at her waist. She still resisted. Am I messing up your makeup? I'm not wearing any. They always have an artist on staff. Then why are you hesitating? look out the back window. I assume that is not glazed. Jack had to move his hip to turn enough to see out. Oh, we're not supposed to run into them. Oh, we were not supposed to run into them. Well, we have an audience. Do you want to continue or leave the car? Jack's response was to pull her on her waist again. She did kiss him, but there was a loud rapping on their window, so he finally released Sarah. Emilio was smiling at them, gripping his briefcase and a small folder in front of him. Jack chose to only roll down the window. Jacob took a step forward, Lisa, clinging hard on his arm. Oh, hard to his arm. Sir, madam, and I think that needs to be a capital M, because it's like her actual title. Sir, madam. Emilio passed Jack the file folder, and Sarah took her time examining it. Hello, Uncle Jack. You and Sarah are getting along very well. Hello, Sarah. Sarah did not look up, but her voice sounded friendly enough. Hello, Jacob. You need to initial here, unless you don't want that villa. That villa. I don't think that's right, because they're assuming that's a person's name, but it's a place, and it's like that villa is one thing. And it's not like that, hey, villa. Hello, Jacob. You need to initial here, unless you don't want that villa. Lisa's whiny voice prompted Sarah to look up. Why is she telling you what to sign? We talked to the lawyer, and she's not family. Do you want the villa or not? Yes, I'll sign. You just need to initial. Do you want to look over this one more time? Wait, I need the notary if you're going to change this. Do you want the villa? I'm going to capitalize it because I've been capitalizing, even if it's because it's like a specific one. I don't know. I don't think it needs to be capitalized. That was bothering me earlier. Because I just say the house, I wouldn't put it capitalized, so it's lowercase, so I'm going to change that back up here. That bothered my brain, but I wasn't registering why. See, and then that agrees, because now, see, I was saying it, but I wasn't like registering. That villa means just like that house over there, or that rock, not the rock. One's capitalized, one's not. One's a proper name, one's not. So, unless you don't want that villa. Yeah. Lisa's whiny voice prompted Sarah to look up. Why is she telling you what to sign? We talked to the lawyer, and she's not family. Talk to the lawyer, and she's not family. Do you want the villa or not? Yes, I'll sign. You just need to initial. Do you want to look this over one more time? Wait, I need a notary if you're going to change this. You do want the villa. Yes, ma'am. Madam, Jacob, why are you still giving her respect? You already... Jacob pulled Lisa back. Lisa. Tried to use his eyes as well. Jacob pulled Lisa back and tried to use his eyes pulled Lisa back, and tried to use his eyes as well as his expression to get her to quiet. Oh, to get her to be, as well as his expression to get her to be quiet. Jacob pulled Lisa back and tried to use his eyes as well as his expression to get her to be quiet. They're in the car. I'll be right back. What's his name again? My brain just went. Emilio. Oh. They're in the car. I'll be right back. I don't need to read over it again. I'm going to put the it here because I keep saying it there. It over again. It's been bothering me. I don't need to read it over again. I agree to all the conditions. Good. Do you like the photographer? Would you recommend him? Did you come out here just to ask him this? Did you come out here just to ask him this? Did you come out here just to ask him this? Jacob pulled on Lisa's arm again, her face becoming darker and more frustrated. Yes, they're very good. Are you doing well? Yes, thank you. The sound of crunching gravel, and at the sound wow, it's an awkward sentence I've got there. The distinct sound of crunching gravel. The sound of crunching gravel stopped. Oh, S-T-O-P-P-E-D. There you go. And the necessary parties were at the window. Oh, it's been sitting for, oh my goodness, almost 2 hours. The sound of crunching gravel stopped, and the necessary parties were at the window. The sound of crunching gravel stopped, and the necessary parties were at the window. That's better. They used the trunk of the car to complete the business. Sarah turned in her seat to watch the proceedings. Sarah had turned in her seat to watch the procedures. Jack had left his window down, so the constant hum of Lisa's complaints, like that of a mosquito, filled the air. Emilio handed the paperwork back through the window to Sarah. She took time to thoroughly go through them, and that's why she's so successful. Details and decisiveness, mumbled Jack. Anything else, madam? No, thank you for the day. No, thank you. That's all for the day. No, thank you. Period. That is all for the day. Okay. Anything else, madam? No, thank you. That is all for the day. Jacob, Lisa, congratulations. What does that mean? You two are officially married as far as the law is concerned. Sarah handed Emilio a plastic card. He handed it to Jacob. Our gift to you, and many blessings in a long entanglement. Oh, no, read what's actually there, Tina. You two are officially married as far as the law is concerned. Sarah handed Emilio a plastic card, and he handed it to Jacob. Our gift to you, and many blessings in a long life entangled. Right, Jack? Yes, good luck, Jacob. Thank you, Sarah. Needs to be a comma there. I know it hasn't been easy for you. Thank you, Sarah. I know this hasn't been easy for you. As long as you're happy, Jacob. That's what matters. That is what matters. Jack would always remember the smile she gave Jacob at that moment. He would remember it because he was afraid if he ever saw it directed at him, there might be a thumbtack. Oh, there might be thumbtacks on his... Okay, I'm going to reread this. As long as you're happy, Jacob. That's what matters. Jack would always remember the smile she gave him at that moment. He would remember it because he was afraid, comma. If he ever saw it directed at him, there might be thumbtacks on his chair or strychnine in his porridge. Thank you, Sarah. That one makes me laugh. I should make that a meme. I'll do that really quick. That's funny. When I smile, I'm gonna go with it. Okay, YouTube. Oh wait, do I have? I do have. Well, my phone theoretically has internet. Oh no, my phone has no internet. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for your blessing. Thank you, Jack. Do I go tell Grandpa Joan now? I certainly would, if I were in the same position. Thank you, Uncle Jack. We'll go after lunch. Sarah, do you want to go to lunch with us? That's very kind of you, Jacob, but I'm afraid I will have to decline. I have an appointment and we are actually late. I have an appointment and we are... I'm going to get rid of the contraction. It's very kind of you, Jacob, but I'm afraid I will have to decline. I have an appointment and we are actually late. I am now a member of the Mortison family. You cannot look down on me and you cannot refuse me. Lisa choked. I am now a member of the Mortison family. You cannot look down on me and cannot refuse me. My last name is now McCarthy, but that makes me no less a member of the Mortison family. I don't understand, Jacob. Isn't your uncle a McCarthy? Yes, Lisa, my uncle's name is Jack Lucien McCarthy. He grew up with my mother. I've known him all my life. Well, of him. Jack cleared his throat. Well then, Jacob, since your parents cannot say it, I will say it for them. I'm proud of you for settling down and for making a choice. I know your grandfather has tried his best all these years. He truly cares for you. I still don't understand why everyone's so worried about Jacob. He's like me, with no parents to care for. He's like me, with no parents to care who he marries. Who he marries. I still don't understand why everyone's so worried about Jacob. He's like me, with no parents to care who he marries. That is why we understand each other so well. Jacob, you always take such good care of me, even though I'm all alone. But not anymore, I have you. Lisa squeezed Jacob around the waist. His face did not show pleasure. Sarah responded, Yes, Lisa, congratulations. I unfortunately have a father who cares deeply about who I marry, and I had to marry into the Mortison family. Well, you can't now. I've married Jacob. Her eyes flashed with anger. Lisa, Jacob is my uncle. Technically, he's a cousin, but he's part of the Mortison family. Understanding finally started dawn across Lisa's face. So he is a cousin. He has every right to inherit as well. So do his offspring, and he is engaged to Sarah. The moment realization finally registered with Lisa, her face twisted, but she recovered quickly. So what if she's engaged? We're not engaged, we're married. That was fast. And are you going to be stepmother to that little girl? You know Jacob seized... Oh, I see, it's the wrong direction. Jacob seized Lisa around the waist and hauled her off to his car. He needs to know the truth about her. Lisa's... Jacob seized Lisa around the waist and hauled her off to his car. Lisa raised her voice. He needs to know the truth about her. The rest of whatever else she was saying was muffled from inside the car. Till death do they part. Doodly doot, doodly doot. Yeah, I'm going to say that's S. Wound her, arms around Jack and kissed Kissed him on the cheek. Sarah wound her arms around Jack and kissed him on the cheek. Till death do they part. Doodly-doot, doodly-doot. Luca had been acting as Sarah's driver and bodyguard, or Amelia's nanny. Luca had been acting as Sarah's driver and bodyguard, or Amelia's nanny. She paid a lot better than the logging company, so he was often present in the house, and tonight was he's often present in the house, and tonight was no exception, having comfortably fit into the household. No exception. I don't feel like it. And tonight was no exception, having comfortably fit into the household. Oh, there's a space there, that's a problem. Jack let Larry plug in the thumb drive. Jack let Larry plug the thumb drive into, I had the N in the wrong spot for some reason, Jack let Larry plug the thumb drive into the TV to review the wedding photos. Why is your face red in all of these? Larry asked with a chuckle. Jack cleared his throat. They say they can correct them if we chose. They said they could correct them if we chose the pose. You should have the whole wedding party there. No, after the wedding. After the chaos, we can take some photos. It was bad enough that we'd gone too early and run into the two of them. And before you ask Emilio, wait, I need to reread this. I don't know. I'm going to get rid of this contraction. It's confusing my brain. I don't like it. I don't like the sentence. No, after the wedding. After the chaos, we can take some photos. It was bad enough that we had gone too early and run into the two of them. Yeah, not also early. Gone too early and run into the two of them. Lots of twos in there. And before you ask Emilio, the paperwork's already in the safe. What paperwork? Asked Luca. What paperwork? Asked Luca. Oh, wait. Oh. What paperwork, question there. Boom, 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 boom. Right. There. What paperwork? Asked Luca. Sarah rather brilliantly had them married today. We also told them about our marriage, that we are now married. Lisa seemed to not understand that Jack was part of the family. Grandpa Joe struck his cane on the floor, lowercase cane. Does she understand that now? Yes, it was made clear to her today. So that any children I bear will be treated to her. Yes, that was made clear to her today. Also that any children I bear will be a threat. Any children I bear, will be a threat to her securing the rights to the inheritance. But there's no grand inheritance. Grandpa Joe's smirk on his face was devastating. The smirk, that's it. It's, that's it. Exit. There. The smirk. D-S-M-I-R-K. On. The smirk on Grandpa Joe's face was devastating. No, she wouldn't understand that. That's why Jack is so strong. He made his own way, not resting on this stack of other people's waistcoats. Uncle Joe, I believe that's why you introduced Sarah to Jacob first, and he was too foolish to understand. I don't disagree with that. I think Jacob is a fool. And I thought you rich people always had lots of money to pass down. I know Sarah is beautiful and wealthy, but why in particular is it a loss for Jacob? Oh, end quote. Oh, and question mark. Because Sarah is like Jack. Shorty made her own fortune, Larry said proudly. That's right, gentlemen. I've attached myself to some rather spectacular petticoats. I thought your parents were wealthy. They are in their own way. They are, in their own way. But it wasn't my money, so I made my own. Didn't your father force this? The contracts would have been signed without my marriage. Without my... Sarah whispered loudly, "My dear friends." Oh no, without her marriage. Her. There. The contracts would have been signed without her marriage. Sarah whispered loudly, "My dear friends, please don't spread it around that I have made my own fortune. Please don't spread it around." Oh, that's all one said. "My dear friends, please don't spread it around that I have made my own fortune. I don't want anyone asking me for money. I invest my money in good people and good projects. It's difficult enough to have a family dinner now. If they knew I had more accumulated assets than this one," she pointed her thumb at Jack, "I wouldn't hear the end of it. I guess I just don't understand how this works. We do have advantages. I don't start with everyone else when I'm trying to start a business." Oh, I don't start at the same goalpost. Oh. I don't start at the same goalpost at the same goal post. What's that one word? I don't start at the same goalpost with everyone else when I'm trying to start a business. I don't start at the same goalpost with everyone else. When I'm trying to start a business. My name alone will grant me meetings with people who will deny most. My trust fund, though modest, means I wouldn't have to work ever. But I prefer to work. Wait, go back one. That's the picture. But neither of us are smiling. Yes. But this is the natural expression you have. You look like a match set. Keep looking. I don't want to look at that sour face every day. I'm the one marrying her. Said Grandpa Joe. Keep looking. I don't want to look at that sour face every day, said Grandpa Joe. I'm the one marrying her. Grandpa Joe smacked Jack in the calf with his cane. I mean you. Doodly-doot, doodly-doot. Emilio received an urgent text message, taking Larry and Jack with him. Sarah had little time to herself. Sarah had little time to herself since her stroll down the mountain. It was well past midnight, and she had not been able to sleep yet, so she took advantage of a glass of wine in the back porch. Sitting in the dark with just the dim lights of the kitchen spilling through, she could see thousands of stars. A shiver ran through her. The air was biting and the sky clear, and with the smell of snow. The air was biting, and the sky clear with the smell of snow. She wrapped her blanket around her tighter and finished the wine so she could hide. Finish the tighter, comma, and finish the wine so she could hide her hands inside. She shut her eyes, enjoying the warmth spreading from her stomach. But when she opened them, the only light came from the stars above her. A horrible panic set in. Her stomach started cramping. Her heart rate rose, and her breath came quickly. There was a noise behind her, and she couldn't move. Logically speaking, there were no large beasts lurking in the backyard. Grandpa's small pug had passed the year before. And he was still mourning it. She screamed as a heavy hand landed on her shoulder. Sarah, I think the power's out. I was in the middle of a shower and the water just stopped. Luca, I don't think water is controlled by electricity. Are you okay? Your voice is trembling. I'm fine, I'm just a little cold. He knelt in front of her, the starlight reflecting off his wet back. You are naked and wet. You've got to be cold. Freezing now. Where's the breaker box? No idea. I'll call Grandpa Joe. No idea. I'll call Grandpa Joe. Come on, let's go back inside. At least you won't be exposed to the wind. Sarah's teeth were chattering, and he wrapped his arm around her, pulling her inside. I'm getting you up to bed before I worry about the electricity. That sounds like a music comment somewhere. Sarah's teeth were chattering, and he wrapped his arm around her, pulling her inside. Pulling her inside. I'm getting you up to bed before I worry about the electricity. There was a large bang somewhere in front of them. Hello? No one answered. Sarah dialed Grandpa Joe. She could hear the phone ringing nearby, but there was no light from the screen. Grandpa Joe, is that you? There was still no answer. I'm going out to my truck. Luca pushed her into the couch, taking her phone with him. She felt a blessed heat from her cheeks as she realized he had been holding her in nothing but a towel. In the silence of the dark, she thought she could hear faint breathing, but realized it was her own panicked heartbeat. Horrible bright light blinded Sarah. Oh, but it was drowned out. I like that, but it was drowned, D-R-O-W-N-E-D, drowned out by her. Okay. She thought she could hear faint breathing, but it was drowned out by her own panicked heartbeat. That's way better than I had before. Horrible bright light blinded Sarah. She heard Luca's calm, quiet voice speaking on her phone. He's breathing, but unresponsive. Sarah could finally see Grandpa's ashen face in the spilled light. Under the large flashlight, there seemed to be a small trickle of blood from the old man's mouth, or maybe it was his nose. In the silence of the dark, she thought she could hear faint breathing, but it was drowned out by her own panicked heartbeat. Horrible bright light blinded Sarah. She heard Luca's calm, quiet voice speaking on her phone. He's breathing, but unresponsive. Sarah could finally see Grandpa's ashen face in the spilled light. Under the large flashlight, there seemed to be a small trickle of blood from the old man's mouth, or maybe it was his nose. She finally moved and stroked the old man's hair, gently trying to wake him. Sarah, don't move him. We don't know what kind of injury. Sarah, don't move him. Oh, I got cold, and now I'm yawning because, well, I also put myself to sleep. It's my charm. She finally moved and stroked the old man's hair, gently trying to wake him. Sarah, don't move him. We don't know what kind of injuries he's had. I need to call Jack. Other voices sounded from small pools of light at their feet. Small pools of light. Sounds from small pools of light. That's it. Get rid of the feet. I don't know what I was saying there. Other voices sounded from small pools of light. What happened to the old man? Why are you naked? I don't know, and the electricity's off. What does that have to do with your state of undress? I was in the middle of a shower. He's breathing, and I've called emergency services. I'm going to capitalize that, because I did earlier. I'm currently online with them. Your state of undress. I was in the middle of a shower. He's breathing, and I've called emergency services. I'm currently online with them. Luca, why don't you give me the phone, and I'll wait with them. Phone. And I'll wait for them. You go back up and put some clothes on. You go back up. Here. I'm going to do period, capital U. You go back up and put some clothes on. I'm shivering just looking at you. The voice of a young girl offered. I can take him back up the stairs, madam. I can help him get cleaned up. Sarah grabbed Luca's wrist. Luca, why don't you give me the phone, and I'll wait for them. You go back up and put some clothes on. I'm shivering just looking at you. The voice of a young girl offered. I can take him back up the stairs, madam. I can help him get cleaned up. Luca, leave the big light with me and my phone, Sarah ordered. A deep male voice sounded. I've sent a text blast out to the security team. And Jack. Sounds of sirens relieved the knots in Sarah's heart as she stroked the old man's head. Bigger, larger flashlights intermittently revealed the faces in the dark. Sarah sat on the couch watching the scene in front of her. In the spotty light. Sarah sat on the couch, watching the scene in front of her in the spotty light, listening to the calming words of the woman on the other end of the line. How nice to have a signal. How nice to be so close to so many people. Grandpa Joe was already starting to mumble. She was convinced he would be fine. If only she had a signal, she wouldn't have suffered such a loss. Sarah said goodbye to the woman on the other end of the line and chose not to go with them in the ambulance, but to stay sitting in the dark. Luca announced his presence as he came down the stairs in his own puddle of light. How's Grandpa Joe doing? He was waking up. Why didn't you go with him? Sarah was trembling uncontrollably, and she wasn't sure if it was from the cold. I don't know, I just couldn't. Luca sat next to her on the couch and examined her face. You don't look good, come here. He picked Sarah up and put her in his lap, forcing her blankets open, and pulled her to his chest, then pulling the blanket up and over her head, so she was thoroughly bundled up next to him. I think you're going into shock. I'm going to make a phone call. Just stay put. Sarah felt a calmness, curled up in his arms, and though she had an occasional shudder, the constant shivering had stopped. She closed her eyes and fell asleep in the pool of light under the blanket. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. The strong smell of bleach stung Jack's nose. Jacob was soothing Lisa at the far end of the hallway, but most of the household was crowded into the old man's room. But he had not yet spotted Sarah, spotted Edie. P-O-T-T? No, spotted. Yeah, 2 T's. But he had not yet spotted Sarah, and there was an old woman he did not recognize, wiping Grandpa Joe's head, holding his hand. Where's Sarah? Amelia is here, I don't know. She's at the house, she didn't come with us. Uncle Joe, are you okay? I'm fine, I tripped and apparently knocked myself out. The alarm on my concentrator went off with the power outage. It woke me. Concentrator? I just use it at night, it helps me sleep. I'm fine here. Oh. Here, this is all one person talking. I just use it at night. It helps me sleep. I'm fine here. Gordon and Tina Marie will keep you informed of my condition. Jack, go back home and get the power on. Jack, go back home and get the power on. So I can go back home and get the power. I'm going to get rid of this comma. Go back home and get the power on so I can come home. The rest of you go to the Franklin house or hotel. Have breakfast. It's on me. Are you sure, Uncle Joe? Sarah's in the house in the dark. Don't you think you should be watching out for her? Jack's stomach cramped. He hadn't been worried about her once. He hadn't been worried about her. Once he thought she was immune to Uncle Joe's situation. Okay, so it's like once he thought she was blown off Uncle Joe, he was like, who is this woman? Jack's stomach cramped. He hadn't been worried about her once. I'm going to read it again. He hadn't been worried about her once after. A-F-T-E-R. That's the answer. Here we go. He hadn't been worried about her once after he thought she was immune to Uncle Joe's situation. He hadn't been worried about her once after he thought she was immune to Uncle Joe's situation. Why hadn't she come with him? Why didn't she care? See, that way better. Okay, just needed one word. Jack's stomach cramped. He hadn't been worried about her once after he thought she was immune to Uncle Joe's situation. And no comma there. He hadn't been worried about her once after he thought she was immune to Uncle Joe's situation. Why hadn't she come with him? Why didn't she care? Jack was glad he had a driver. He was gripping the fabric of his knees in anger, worried he committed himself to a woman who could so easily dismiss an old man in danger. The old Lynn house was still dark, but for the few faces illuminated and clustered at the far end of the room. Sarah, are you okay? Luca let out a long, slow hiss. She's asleep. Is she okay? Luca was stroking his rather large stomach. Better. I called Billy. She keeps shivering. I'm worried she's suffering from shock. Where is she? Luca aimed his flashlight at his stomach, then stroked it again. Jack finally understood. She's in your lap. I had to get her warm quickly. You'll notice the house is getting colder without any electricity on. She's fine right now. Why don't you find out the source? She couldn't tell me where the breaker box was. Oh, I'm gonna get, if I don't say boxes, then that works. She's fine right now. Why don't you find out the source? She couldn't tell me where the breakers were. Yes, well, I'll go check on them. Breakers. S. There. Now it agrees. He had her warm quickly. You'll notice the house is getting colder without the electricity on. She's fine right now. Why didn't you find out the source? She couldn't tell me where the breakers were. Yes, well, I'll go check on them. Larry, can you come with me? This was worse than her not caring about the old man, coming back to find her in another man's arms. Jack's throat was so tight he could not speak, and his chest was cramping as he and Larry made their way downstairs. There was the sound of dripping into a large puddle of water. Larry stopped. Do you hear that? The light from their phones was not strong enough to reach the bottom of the stairs. Jack, we need to stop. I can't. I can't afford you getting hurt. Go back upstairs and help Luca with Sarah. I'll get people here to deal with this. Jack still couldn't swallow and could barely breathe as he watched Luca's giant hand stroking the lump on his stomach. Is your doctor on his way? No, he just texted. He had a party of 3 show up at his door. He suggested we could just go to the hospital. Oh, we should. Not could, should. No, he just texted. He just had a party of 3 show up at his door. He suggested we should just send her to the hospital. He suggested we just send her to the hospital. A very quiet and muffled no came from somewhere in his midsection. I'm just cold. Luca addressed his stomach. Well, Billy said that if you don't stop shivering, we should take you in. Then he grunted. Jack addressed the room. It may be some time before we get electricity back on in the villa. There may be some water damage as well. I'm going to ask you to... I think we should vacate the premises and let it get taken care of. Go pack yourself something for at least 2 days. Yes, everyone, housekeeper Lynn. We have other properties. Grandpa Joe already sent people to the Franklin house. Sir, I'm not sure it's that serious. Luca's deep voice sounded reason. Why don't we wait until the sun rises? Just go back to bed. The light often solves things. If not, it will be easier to pack. I'm with Luca. We only have 4 hours until the sun's up. I have a maintenance crew coming over, but they won't be here for another hour, maybe 2. There's nothing... Oh, there is not much we can do. I'm leaving. Emilio's given me an assignment. All right, you heard Larry. Back to bed, all of you. People mumbled and groaned, and soon the puddles of light spilled back up the stairs. Larry said quietly to Jack, I need to check with security and collect some video evidence. You mean you don't think this was just an accident? We're making sure it's an accident. It is just an accident. I'm going to put just so it's like he's repeating him. We are making sure it is just an accident, and if not, we will be able to provide... we are making sure it is just an accident, and if not, we will be able to prove otherwise. Thank you, Larry. Be safe. Can you lock the door behind you? His old friend nodded to him, but it was lost in the darkness. Jack, I have a suggestion that will help Sarah. I hope you'll accept that it comes from a place of concern for the young woman, no other intentions. What, do you want to sleep with my fiancé too? I mean my wife. Luca was quiet for a moment, then the sound of his lips smacking before he spoke. Actually, yes, I think we should put her between the 2 of us. The house has gotten significantly colder. You should look into better insulation. I really don't think that's appropriate. Jack, we should try it, or we will have to take her to the hospital. Jack, we should try it, or we will have to take her to the hospital. Billy said to keep her hydrated and warm. Billy's an expert in this field. I trust his advice. I'm going to admit to you, Jack, It won't be the first time I've slept in a huddle. I've never had a woman in the mix. What are you trying to tell me? There was an accident at one of the logging sites. There was an accident on one of the logging sites. There was an accident on one of the logging sites once, comma. That's what needs to be there. And we were stuck there for a week. 5 of us, all men, and there was a lot of snow that melted just enough in the day to completely saturate everything we had. The 5 of us dirty, sweaty men curled up with each other for 5 days. We swore not to speak of it, but I want you to understand this is something one does when in a desperate situation. We could just take her to a hotel room and with heat and hot water. You could also buy her 10 electric blankets, but they're not working right now. A muffled little voice demanded, "Just take me upstairs. We all have our clothes on. You hold me. Luca will sleep at my back. I really am cold, Jack. If I can just sleep warm." Jack growled, "Fine." But of course he was anything but fine. He did appreciate that Luca had been there for her when he had not. He had been there for her when he had not been able to. And was willing to sacrifice himself. No, Jack shook his head and followed Luca up the stairs. Dooley-doo, dooley-doo. Sarah's hands were cold. Weren't you up against his hot body? Sarah snorted, then answered with a flat voice. Yes, Luca is very warm. I'm not sure why I'm so cold. Her teeth chattered again. Sarah, you're facing Jack, so tuck your hands into his armpits. You want me to do what? You heard me very clearly. Your feet need to be sandwiched between ours. I really feel this is a little ridiculous. Hands in his armpits. Sarah giggled against Jack's chest. Sarah giggled against Jack's chest, and he felt her moving her hands up along his sides. You're putting it on his bare flesh, right? No, all right. She giggled again, and as she pulled on Jack's shirt. Over Sarah's sweet scent, there was a heavier one. Jack was sure it was Luca's. Sure. No. Okay, I wonder if I need to put Jack there. Okay. She giggled again, and as she pulled on Jack's shirt. Over Sarah's sweet scent, there was a heavier one. He was sure it was Luca's. It. That's what's missing. He was sure it was Luca's. He would have to ask him what soap he used. Then Jack gasped and jerked as Sarah's cold fingers slid around his waist and started up his rib cage. Your hands are so cold. Yes, I told you that. Sarah, I forgot something. Pull your shirt up and Jack's too. Oh. Sarah forgot something. Pull your shirt up and Jack's too. Press your bare stomach to his bare stomach. Then put your hands in his armpits. Jack felt her hands working. That's your stomach. Why is it so cold? Jack, if she doesn't get hot, or we can't warm her up, we need to take her to the hospital. No, I don't want to go to the hospital. Jack could feel her frantically making movements, and then a cold rush of air as she lifted her hands over her head. As she pressed herself to him, he slid his hands over her back, and realized she'd removed everything above her waist. He resisted squirming away from her as she curled her He resisted squirming away from her as she curled her icy cold fingers in his armpits. He pressed her against him, and then the most disturbing thing, a large hot hand on his back, pressing him against her. Do you feel any warmer, Sarah? I like your armpits, Jack. He felt a shiver run through him. He wasn't sure if it was her closeness or that her fingers seemed to have stolen the heat from his body, but he was thankful for the thick blankets and the human heater on the other side of Sarah. We're supposed to sleep now, Luca reminded her. Right, sleep. Jack shut his eyes. Come on. Because staring in the dark was pointless. The sun would be up in a few hours, and he would not share the morning's events with anyone. Oh, the sun would be up in a few hours, comma. And he would not share the morning's events with any of his friends, ever. He couldn't understand why he hadn't just taken her to a hotel, or even better, the hospital. The memory of the sound of water dripping in a deep pool, and the sight of his Uncle Joe looking so vulnerable. Looking so vulnerable in the hospital led to more thoughts of conspiracies banging around in his brain. And then he realized the breathing in the room around him was deep and regular. They had both fallen asleep. He could truthfully say her hands were less cold. He quickly learned not to move his hands as they were pressed between the two of them, and he did not want to wake the giant. Good morning, Princess. The deep voice startled Jack awake. Jack was afraid to move his hands, remembering where they'd been pressed the night before, Pressed the night before. Jack was afraid to move his hands, remembering where they'd been pressed the night before. Then he was rocked on the bed as the giant rose and stretched at the edge. Jack realized Sarah had turned in her sleep as her back was to him, and Jack realized Sarah had turned in her sleep as her back was to him, and his hand was firmly gripping her breast. His voice cracked. Good morning, and it goes without saying that we will not share this with others. I am in no rush to be labeled as a mistress or whatever. Look, feel her neck. She's nice and hot now. Sarah's sleepy voice shocked Jack into pulling his hand from her breast, and then he covered it up as Luca's eyebrows raised. Eyebrow raised. I do feel better, but I think I want to go to the mountain today. Why on earth would you want to go back up there? Asked Luca. Well, I used to like the mountains. I like to fish. Too fresh. Well, I used to like the mountains. I like to fish. But last night when the lights went out, I was outside and, I don't know, I felt very alone. I'd like to reclaim that part of my life. Do you think we should go there instead of the engagement party? Let me erase right over the old memory. Maybe even have a cake. I am invited? Asked Jack. Oh, wait, no. Well, I used to like the mountains. I like to fish in the rivers. Well, I used to like the mountains. I like to fish in the rivers. But last night when the lights went out, I was outside and, I don't know, I felt very alone. I'd like to reclaim that part of my life. You think we should go there instead of the engagement party? Let me erase right over the old memory. Maybe even have a cake. Am I invited? Asked Jack. She reached back and smacked his hip. You are the main attraction, but I wouldn't mind Luca or anyone else joining us who's free. I was supposed to watch the sunset and the city come to life in the valley below. I saw those things, but you're afraid of the dark now. Oh, you're afraid of a cold, of that, not a cold, the... You're afraid of the cold dark now. And the starry sky above. I saw those things, but you're afraid of the cold dark now, and the starry sky above. Well, I'm up for it. How about you, Jack? Of course I am. I say we bring up a proper meal. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Amelia and Gordon stayed behind to live stream the practice for the blessed event. Lisa's face was turning red as she stared at the empty pews. Her mouth was open mid-complaint when the feed cut as they hit the first switchback. Sarah pared off her phone. It was unnecessary to watch anymore. Amelia would give her the highlights later and make sure the planned entrance did not need adjustments. For now, she was in the middle of a caravan of 5 cars, slowly winding their way up. The mica and the rock wall was glittering as the sun was lowering itself behind another peak, and the sound inside, full of people whose company she enjoyed greatly, and who were looking forward to spending their time with her, warmed her heart. Already it was erasing so many of the bad and sad feelings. Some scars over some scars over 20 years old were erasing. Were were fading in that warmth. F-A-D-I-N, fading. Is that the right word? I gotta check that. Nope, still no internet. God for this heating vest. Sorry, it's taking a minute for the internet to work. We've only got 3 pages left. Till the end. And then I'm going to publish it on Amazon. Send it out today. Fading. Okay, I did spell it correctly. Good job, Tina. Already it was erasing so many of the bad and sad feelings, and some scars over 20 years old were fading in that warmth. She was dressed in She was dressed in thick leggings underneath jeans, 2 layers of socks, tennis shoes, and a thick leather jacket with a F-U-R. Fur. Now, is that the right fur? Yeah, that should be. There's also fur as in the tree, and my brain is not able to comprehend the difference right now. So let's look it up. Feels so good. Yep. Tina spelled it right. And it, by the way, it is also fur. British. That's British. Interesting. Okay, interesting. Anyways, back to work. Already it was erasing so many of the bad and sad feelings, and some scars over 20 years. And some scars, comma, over 20 years old. And some scars, over 20 years old, were fading in that warmth. She was dressed in thick leggings underneath jeans, 2 layers of socks, tennis shoes, and a thick leather jacket with a fur lining, snuggled up under Jack's arm. The sky was clear, but just as in life, the weather can change quickly. The sky was clear, but just as in life, the weather can change quickly. Between the stones. The sky was clear, but just as in life, the weather can change just as quickly. Between the stones high in the mountains. The sky was clear, but just as in life, the weather can change just as quickly between the stones high in the mountains. But this time she was not alone. Oh, that feels so much better. That has been bothering me. They almost filled all the spaces available for visitors at the point where the wind had whipped her skirt around her hips and chilled her. Everyone got out and posed on the small rock wall that she dare not sit on that night for fear of freezing. It was still cold, but she could not feel it through her clothing this time. This was the wedding picture she wanted on the wall. They only stopped here for a brief examination of the valley. A few phones rang and text messages buzzed through. As this was the one spot one could receive signals this far in the mountain range. Jack insisted they push on, for he had a much more favored spot. Favored. Much more favored spot. Favored. Favoried. Favored. No, Control Z. Control Z. Oh. Jack insisted they push on, for he had a much more favored. He had a much more favorite spot. One spot, period. One that he had enjoyed in his youth. He had pushed on, for he had a much more favorite spot. One that he had enjoyed in his youth, and Luca agreed, regaling them with the story of 3 men and a bear. Sarah was not afraid. The end. Okay. And then this all is stuff that I'm getting rid of. Yeah. And this whole I'm getting rid of all this, I think. Yeah. Yeah. It was something that I was trying, but I got rid of it. Boop. I used some of it, but not all of that. There we go. All right, the end. Beautiful. The end. Okay, now I'm going to go through and publish this to Amazon Print and Amazon Kindle, and get all this back out to YouTube. And then I'm going to start another challenge, another book. If you really want to hear, if I missed a piece of the story that you want to hear more about, tell me in the comments. I can tell you what happened. Anyways, love you all, humans. Peace.